Maria's hand slammed over Daniel Carter's mouth, hard, desperate. "Shut up," she hissed, dragging the billionaire into the darkness of the coat closet. "Don't breathe. Don't move. Don't make a sound." Through the crack in the door, Daniel saw his wife raise a champagne glass. "To finally being free of that pathetic fool." Victoria laughed. 6 more weeks of poison and he's dead." His brother Brandon clinked his glass against hers. "Heart failure. Clean. Untraceable. The company will be ours." Daniel's roses fell from his trembling hands. The 2 people he loved most were celebrating his murder, and the only person trying to save him was the black maid everyone had ignored for 15 years. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. Comment below which city you're watching from. I love knowing how far this story travels. Now let's continue. Daniel Carter left the airport 3 hours earlier than expected. The merger meeting in New York had been canceled at the last minute. He pulled out his phone and dialed Victoria. No answer. He tried again, straight to voicemail. "She's probably at the spa," he muttered, smiling to himself. "Perfect. I'll surprise her." He stopped at her favorite florist in Beverly Hills. 2 dozen red roses. Then he called their favorite restaurant. "I need to move our reservation up to tonight. The Carter reservation. Yes, the private room. It's our 20th anniversary." 20 years of marriage. 20 years of building a life together. He wanted to celebrate. His driver pulled into the Bel Air driveway. Daniel noticed Brandon's car parked near the fountain. His younger brother must be visiting Victoria. That wasn't unusual. Brandon was the CFO of Carter Industries. He often stopped by. Daniel smiled. Maybe he'd surprise both of them. He told his driver to take the rest of the day off. He wanted privacy for his romantic surprise. The driver nodded and left. Daniel walked through the front door, quietly, roses in hand. He was already imagining Victoria's face when she saw him. Then a hand grabbed his arm. Daniel spun around, ready to fight. But it was Maria Santos, his housekeeper. 15 years she'd worked for him. He'd never seen her look like this. Her eyes were wild with terror. Her face was gray. Her whole body was shaking. "Sir," she whispered, "you need to come with me, right now." "Maria, what are you—" She clamped her hand over his mouth, hard. "Shut up," she hissed. "Don't say a word. Please, trust me." Daniel had never been spoken to like this by anyone, especially not his housekeeper. But something in Maria's eyes stopped him. Something desperate. Something real. She dragged him toward the coat closet and pushed him inside. The space was cramped, dark. Daniel could barely breathe. "Maria, what the hell is going on?" he demanded in a whisper. "Listen," she said. "Just listen." Through the slats of the closet door, Daniel saw into the living room. Victoria stood near the fireplace. She wore the silk dress he'd bought her for her birthday. She looked beautiful. She always looked beautiful. Brandon stood beside her. His hand rested on the small of her back. Daniel's stomach turned. Victoria raised her champagne glass. "To us," she said. "And to finally being free of that pathetic fool." The roses slipped from Daniel's fingers. Brandon laughed. That easy, charming laugh Daniel had heard 1,000 times. 6 more weeks. The doctor said 6 more weeks and he'll be gone. Heart failure. Clean. Simple. Untraceable. "Are you sure about the dosage?" Victoria asked. "I don't want him suffering too long. It's getting harder to pretend I care." "The thallium is working perfectly," Brandon replied. "Slow enough to avoid suspicion. Fast enough to finish the job before the merger closes. Once Daniel is declared incompetent or dead, we'll have full control of Carter Industries." Victoria set down her glass. She wrapped her arms around Brandon's neck. "I've been waiting for this for years. You have no idea how exhausting it is playing the loving wife to a man I can barely stand to touch." Daniel couldn't move, couldn't breathe. His wife, His brother. Planning his murder. Maria gripped his arm. "Sir," she whispered, "I know this is impossible, but it's true. I've known for 3 weeks. I didn't know how to tell you." Daniel turned to her. His eyes filled with pain she had never seen before. 3 weeks. Maria nodded. Tears streamed down her face. "I heard them in the study. I found poison hidden in Mrs. Carter's bathroom. I wanted to warn you, but who would believe me? I'm just the help. Nobody listens to the help." In the living room, Victoria kept talking. "What about Maria?" she asked Brandon. "She's been watching us lately. I don't like it." Brandon shrugged. "She's nobody. A 60-year-old black woman who cleans toilets. Even if she suspected something, who would believe her? We'll frame her if we need to. Say she was Daniel's mistress. Say they ran off together with company funds." Victoria laughed. "You're brilliant. I learned from the best." Something broke inside Daniel. Not just his heart. Something deeper. The foundation of everything he believed about his life. He had trusted Victoria completely. He had trusted Brandon with his company, his secrets, his life. And they were planning to murder him like he was nothing. Maria tugged his sleeve. "Sir, we need to go. Now." "How?" Daniel's voice was hollow. "How did I not see this? They're good at pretending. They've had years of practice." Daniel's body began to tremble. At first he thought it was shock, but then he felt it. The familiar heaviness. The fog creeping into his brain. His hands went numb. His vision blurred. "Sir." Maria's voice seemed far away. "Are you okay?" "The poison," Daniel whispered. "Victoria made me a smoothie this morning. She said it was for my health." Maria's face went white. "We need to get you out. Now." She helped him stand. His legs felt like water. Every movement was an effort. In the living room, Brandon stopped talking. "Did you hear that?" Victoria frowned. "Hear what?" "Something in the hallway." Daniel's blood ran cold. He had knocked something over. A small vase on the closet shelf. It hadn't broken, but it made a sound. Brandon started walking toward them. Maria moved fast. She slipped out of the closet and walked calmly toward the kitchen. "Sorry, Mr. Brandon," she called out. "I dropped a cleaning supply. Everything's fine." Brandon stopped. "Maria, I didn't know you were here today. Mrs. Carter asked me to come in early for the gala preparations. I'll be more careful." Brandon studied her. His eyes were narrow, suspicious. Victoria called out, "Brandon, come back. We're not finished." He turned away from Maria and walked back to the living room. Maria waited until he disappeared. Then she rushed back to the closet. Daniel was slumped against the wall, barely conscious. "Sir, we have to move. Right now." She wrapped his arm around her shoulders. Half carried, half dragged him toward the service entrance. Daniel was tall, 6'2". He outweighed Maria by at least 80 pounds. But adrenaline gave her strength she didn't know she had. They made it through the kitchen, past the laundry room, out through the staff door. Daniel's breathing was shallow. His skin was clammy. "Where are we going?" he managed to ask. "Away from here. That's all that matters." She guided him toward the staff parking area. Her old Honda Civic sat there, dented, faded, completely out of place. "We can't take my car," Daniel said weakly. "GPS." "I know. We're taking mine." She helped him into the passenger seat, ran around to the driver's side. Her hands shook so badly she could barely get the key in the ignition. "Maria." Daniel's voice was barely a whisper. "Why are you doing this?" She looked at him. This man who had always been kind to her, who said please and thank you, who remembered her birthday every year. "Because it's the right thing to do," she said. "Because someone has to." She started the car and drove away from the mansion. Daniel drifted in and out of consciousness. His body was fighting the poison. Maria kept one hand on the wheel and one eye on him. "Stay with me, Mr. Carter. Stay with me." "Daniel," he mumbled. "Call me Daniel. I think we're past formalities." Maria almost smiled. "Okay, Daniel, stay with me." "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe, somewhere they won't look." "A hospital." Maria shook her head. "No hospitals. Mr. Brandon has connections everywhere. Half the doctors in this city do business with Carter Industries. If we go to a hospital, they'll know within an hour." Daniel closed his eyes. "I feel like I'm dying." "You're not dying. Not today. Not if I can help it." Daniel's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out with trembling hands. The screen showed Victoria's name. "Don't answer," Maria said quickly. "I know." But Daniel stared at the phone. His wife's face smiled back at him from the contact photo. Their wedding day. She looked so happy, so in love. All lies. The phone buzzed again. A text message this time. "Honey, where are you?" "I made dinner. Your favorite. Come home soon. I love you." Daniel laughed bitterly. "She's asking where I am. Probably wants to feed me more poison. Give me the phone." "What? They can track it. Give it to me." Daniel handed it over. Maria rolled down the window and threw it into a construction dumpster as they passed. "My watch too. Does it have GPS?" Daniel looked at his Rolex. A gift from Victoria on their 10th anniversary. "Yes." "Then yes." He took it off and handed it to her. She threw it into the same dumpster. Daniel watched his $50,000 watch disappear into the garbage. 2 days ago, he would have been furious. Now it felt like shedding dead skin. "What about Detective Morrison?" Daniel asked suddenly. "He's been my friend for 20 years. He helped me through the kidnapping threat in 2019. I trust him completely." Maria's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "No." "What do you mean, no? James Morrison is the most honest cop I know." Maria was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke. 3 weeks ago, when I first heard them talking, Mr. Brandon mentioned Detective Morrison by name." Daniel felt his stomach drop. "What did he say?" "He said, 'Don't worry about the police. Morrison's been on my payroll for 2 years. He'll make sure any investigation goes nowhere.'" Daniel stared at her. "That's impossible. James would never—" "I'm sorry, sir, Daniel, but I heard it myself." Daniel leaned back against the headrest. His oldest friend, his most trusted ally in law enforcement. Bought and paid for by his own brother. How deep did the betrayal go? Maria drove for almost an hour. The gleaming towers of downtown Los Angeles faded behind them. The streets became narrower. The houses became smaller. The cars became older. She pulled into a cramped alleyway and stopped in front of a tiny house. "This is my mother's house," she explained. "I grew up here. No one from your world would ever look for you here." Daniel looked at the modest home. Peeling paint. Chain link fence. A far cry from his $45 million mansion. 2 days ago, he would have been uncomfortable. Now it felt like salvation. Maria helped him out of the car and through the gate. Her mother appeared at the door. Rosa was small in her 80s with silver hair and kind eyes that immediately filled with concern. "Maria, what's happening? Who is this man?" "Mama, this is my employer, Mr. Carter. He's been poisoned. He needs help." Rosa didn't ask questions. She had been a nurse in Mexico for 30 years. She knew an emergency when she saw one. "Bring him inside, quickly." They laid Daniel on the old couch. Rosa checked his pulse, his temperature, his eyes. Her expression grew more serious with each examination. "What kind of poison?" "Thallium," Maria replied. "They've been giving it to him for months." Rosa crossed herself. "Dios mío." "Can you help him?" Rosa was quiet. Then she stood up. "I can try, but I need supplies. Go to the pharmacy. Here's a list. She wrote quickly and handed the paper to Maria. Go. Every minute counts. Maria hesitated. Daniel was unconscious now, pale, covered in sweat. He'll be okay, Rosa said. I'll take care of him. Go. Maria went. The next few hours were the longest of Daniel's life. He faded in and out of consciousness. His body was racked with pain as Rosa worked to flush the poison from his system. She gave him activated charcoal, forced him to drink water mixed with electrolytes and herbs, monitored his vital signs with equipment that was decades old. Daniel dreamed of Victoria. In the dream, she was smiling at him, telling him she loved him, feeding him breakfast in bed. But her smile kept twisting, becoming something cruel, something mocking. Did you really think I loved you? Dream Victoria asked. Did you really think anyone could love you? He woke up screaming. Maria was there, holding his hand. It's okay. You're safe. It was just a nightmare. It wasn't. Daniel gasped. It was real. Everything I saw was real. Maria nodded. I know. I'm sorry. Daniel lay back, stared at the cracked ceiling. Tell me everything. I need to know everything. Maria took a deep breath. It started 3 weeks ago. I was cleaning the study. I heard voices. Mr. Brandon and Mrs. Carter. They were talking about the plan. At first I didn't understand. She paused. The memory was clearly painful. Then Mrs. Carter said your name. She said Daniel won't last much longer. And Mr. Brandon laughed. He said the thallium was working faster than expected. Daniel felt sick. Go on. I didn't believe it at first. I thought I misheard. But I started paying attention. Watching. I saw Mrs. Carter adding things to your food. I saw Mr. Brandon bringing small packages to the house. I found empty vials in Mrs. Carter's bathroom. Why didn't you go to the police? Maria laughed bitterly. The police, Daniel. I'm a 60-year-old black woman who scrubs floors. Your wife is a beautiful white socialite. Your brother is a respected businessman. Who do you think they would believe? Daniel had no answer. I thought about telling you, Maria continued. 100 times. But I was scared. What if you didn't believe me? What if you told them they would destroy me? I have my mother to think about. So what changed? Today. When I saw you come through the door with those roses looking so happy, I couldn't stay silent. I couldn't watch you walk into your own death. Daniel reached out and took her hand. His grip was weak, but his gratitude was stronger than anything he'd ever felt. You saved my life, Maria. She shook her head. Not yet. You're still sick, and they're still out there. Her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. Her face went white. What is it? She turned the phone toward him. A news alert. Billionaire Daniel Carter missing wife, fears foul play. Below the headline was Victoria's photo, tears streaming down her face, surrounded by reporters. My husband disappeared this afternoon. I'm terrified something terrible has happened to him. Please, if anyone has any information. Daniel stared in disbelief. She's playing the victim. She's actually playing the victim. Maria scrolled down. Another quote from Brandon. We're working with authorities to find Daniel. We believe he may have suffered a mental breakdown. We're also investigating possible financial irregularities at the company. They're setting you up, Maria said quietly. If you surface now, they'll say you're crazy. They'll say you stole money. They'll arrest you before you can say a word. Daniel felt the walls closing in. Sick, alone, trapped. What do we do? Maria's eyes had seen too much injustice. We fight back. But first we need proof. Something that can't be ignored. How? Your office. The safe. You once told me you keep backup files there. Security footage. Financial records. Daniel nodded slowly. Yes. I installed a hidden surveillance system last year. Victoria and Brandon don't know about it. Then that's what we need. Whatever is on those recordings, whatever documents are in that safe, that's our proof. But how do we get it? The mansion will be crawling with police, media, security. Maria's jaw tightened. There's a charity gala Saturday. Mrs. Carter is hosting it. 300 guests, chaos everywhere. Daniel looked at her. This woman he had taken for granted for 15 years. This woman who was now planning a heist to save his life. You'd do that. Risk everything. Maria met his gaze. I've already lost my reputation. They're going to drag my name through the mud no matter what. The only way I get my life back is if we expose the truth. The next morning, Daniel woke to the television. Rosa had turned on the news. Victoria's face filled the screen. I just want my husband back, she sobbed. I don't understand what happened. We were so happy. We were planning our anniversary. Daniel's hands clenched into fists. The lies. The incredible, shameless lies. Brandon appeared next to her, his arm around her shoulders. We're offering a $500,000 reward for any information leading to Daniel's safe return. We just want our family whole again. Family, Daniel spat. You tried to murder me. Maria walked in. Don't watch that. It'll make you angry. I'm already angry. Good. Use it. But don't let it control you. She handed him tea. He noticed her hands were shaking. What's wrong? Maria hesitated. Then she showed him another article. Housekeeper Maria Santos, person of interest in Carter disappearance. Below was Maria's photo, her address, her immigration status, her entire life laid bare. They're saying I was your mistress, Maria said quietly. They're saying I helped you steal money. They're saying I'm an illegal immigrant who should be deported. Daniel felt rage like he had never known. Maria, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. No, this is their fault. They're the criminals. We're going to prove it. But Daniel saw the fear in her eyes, the weight of decades of injustice pressing down on her. I will clear your name, Daniel said. I swear to God, Maria, I will make them pay for every lie. Maria's composure cracked. Tears welled in her eyes. No one has ever fought for me before. Then it's about time someone did. Rosa appeared in the doorway. She had seen many things in her 80 years. Poverty, war, loss, but also moments of grace. The gala is in 4 days, Rosa said. You need to be stronger. Eat, sleep, fight, in that order. Daniel took the soup she offered. Simple food, nothing like his gourmet meals, but made with love. That afternoon, a knock came at the door. Everyone froze. Maria signaled Daniel to hide. He moved quickly to the back room. Rosa opened the door a crack. Mrs. Delgado from next door stood there, curious eyes trying to peer inside. Rosa, I saw your daughter's car last night. Is everything okay? I thought I heard a man's voice. Rosa smiled calmly. My nephew is visiting from San Diego. He's not feeling well. The flu. Oh, that's terrible. I made some chicken soup. Should I bring it over? No, it's very contagious. We don't want you getting sick. Mrs. Delgado looked disappointed. Well, let me know if you need anything. Of course. Thank you. Rosa closed the door. Maria exhaled. That was close, Daniel said, emerging from the back room. Mrs. Delgado is a good woman, Rosa said. But she talks too much. We need to be more careful. The second day, Maria began planning. She drew maps of the mansion from memory. Every camera, every alarm, every security checkpoint. The basement window near the wine cellar, she told Daniel. It's been broken for months. I reported it to Mr. Brandon. He never fixed it. That's our way in. What about security guards? 2 new ones hired last year. They don't know me, but the old guards do. So we need a disguise. Maria shook her head. No, I blend in. The catering staff. My old uniform. No one looks twice at the help. What if someone recognizes you from the news? Maria paused. She hadn't thought of that. I'll keep my head down. Wear my hair different. The rich people at that gala won't look at a servant's face. They never do. Daniel studied her. You've really thought this through. 3 weeks, every night lying in bed, planning how to save your life. She paused. I just never thought I'd actually have to do it. That evening, Daniel picked up his burner phone. His finger hovered over the keypad. What are you doing? Maria asked. I'm going to call the FBI. Anonymous tip. Tell them about the poison, about Brandon and Victoria. Maria grabbed the phone from his hand. No. Why not? The FBI isn't local police. Brandon can't have bought everyone. You don't know that. And even if he hasn't, what happens? They investigate. Victoria and Brandon deny everything. They have lawyers. They have money. They have connections. The investigation takes months, years. And in the meantime... Daniel was silent. In the meantime, Maria continued, you're a fugitive. I'm a criminal. They spin whatever story they want. By the time anyone figures out the truth, if they ever do, our lives are destroyed. So what's the alternative? We get the proof ourselves. Undeniable proof. Video, audio, documents. And we don't give it to the police. We give it to the public. Everyone. All at once. So loud and clear that no one can ignore it. Daniel looked at her with new respect. You've done this before. Maria's face darkened. Not this. But I've been destroyed by powerful people before. I know how they operate. The only way to beat them is to take away their ability to control the narrative. The third day, Maria sat beside Daniel with a small notebook. There's something I need to tell you. What is it? She took a deep breath. 10 years ago, my husband Carlos was killed. Workplace accident. He worked at a factory owned by the Henderson family. Daniel recognized the name. Old money. Real estate. They cut corners on safety. Carlos died because of their negligence. I tried to sue. They destroyed me, hired lawyers who tore apart our lives, made it look like Carlos was drinking on the job, said I was just after money. Her voice broke. I lost everything. My husband, my savings, my dignity. The Hendersons never paid a cent. Daniel reached for her hand. Maria. That's why I couldn't stay silent about you. I know what it's like to be destroyed by people who think money makes them untouchable. I couldn't watch it happen again. Not when I could stop it. Daniel was quiet. Then he spoke. When this is over, I'm going to find out what really happened to Carlos. And I'm going to make sure the Hendersons answer for it. Maria looked surprised. You don't have to do that. I want to. You're risking your life for mine. The least I can do is fight for justice for your husband. Tears filled Maria's eyes. You're different from the others. I always knew that. You said please and thank you. You remembered my birthday. You treated me like a person. That's not special. That's just basic decency. You'd be surprised how rare basic decency is in your world. That night, Daniel's condition suddenly worsened. He started shaking violently. His temperature spiked. Rosa rushed to his side. The poison is fighting back, she said grimly. His body is trying to purge it. This is going to be a rough night. Daniel convulsed on the couch. He called out names. Victoria, Brandon, his late mother. I'm sorry, he kept saying. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Maria held his hand through the worst of it. She talked to him constantly, reminded him he wasn't alone. At 3 a.m, the fever broke. Daniel opened his eyes. They were clearer than they had been in days. I saw them, he whispered, in my fever. I saw everything they did, every lie they told, every time Victoria kissed me goodnight after poisoning my dinner, every time Brandon clapped me on the back while planning my death. He sat up slowly. His body was weak, but his eyes were fierce. I'm not going to die in this house. I'm not going to let them win. Maria squeezed his hand. Good. Because we have a lot of work to do. The fourth day, Daniel was finally strong enough to stand on his own. He walked slowly around the small house, rebuilding his strength. Maria's phone buzzed constantly. News alerts, social media posts. The whole world was talking about Daniel Carter's disappearance and about Maria Santos. Exclusive. Inside the secret life of Daniel Carter's housekeeper. Sources say Maria Santos had access to Carter finances. Immigration officials investigating Santos' family background. Maria read each headline with growing despair. They were tearing her apart. Her name, her family, her history. "They found my sister in Texas," she said quietly. "Reporters are camped outside her house. Her children can't go to school." Daniel felt sick. This is because of me. This is because of them. Victoria and Brandon. They're not just trying to kill you. They're trying to destroy everyone who might help you. Rosa came in with more soup. She had been watching the news too. "Mija," she said to Maria, "I'm proud of you." Maria looked up. "Proud mama, I'm a criminal. Everyone thinks I'm a criminal. Everyone is wrong. You're doing what's right. That's all that matters." Rosa turned to Daniel. "And you're getting stronger. Good. My daughter is risking everything for you. Don't waste it." "I won't," Daniel promised. "I swear I won't." That night, Maria and Daniel reviewed the plan one final time. "I go in through the basement," Maria recited. "Make my way to your office. The code is still the same, unless they changed it. I take the documents, the vials, the surveillance footage, then I get out." "What about communication?" Maria held up a small burner phone. "You'll be listening the entire time. If something goes wrong, you'll know." "And if something does go wrong?" Maria was quiet. They both knew the answer. If she got caught, she was done. Prison. Deportation. Maybe worse. "Then you take whatever I've found, and you finish this without me." Daniel shook his head. "I won't let that happen." "You might not have a choice." They stared at each other. Two people from completely different worlds. Brought together by betrayal. United by justice. "Are you scared?" Daniel asked. "Terrified. But I've been scared my whole life. Scared of immigration. Scared of losing my job. Scared of being invisible." She paused. "At least now I'm scared for a reason that matters." Daniel nodded slowly. "Then let's give them something to be scared of." Maria smiled. For a moment she looked like a different person. Not a maid, not a victim, a warrior. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow we take back your life." Daniel didn't sleep that night. He lay awake staring at the ceiling. His company, his name, his future, and Maria. The woman everyone had ignored. The woman who saw the truth when no one else was looking. Daniel made himself a promise. No matter what happened tomorrow, he would make sure Maria Santos got the recognition she deserved, even if it was the last thing he ever did. Just before dawn, Daniel heard something. Footsteps outside. He sat up quickly. Maria appeared in the doorway. Her face was pale. "Someone's outside," she whispered. Daniel moved to the window, peeked through the curtain. A black SUV was parked at the end of the alley. Two men sat inside, watching. "Do you recognize them?" Maria asked. Daniel squinted. His blood ran cold. "The one in the passenger seat. That's Marcus Webb, Brandon's head of security." Maria's hand flew to her mouth. "They found us." "I don't know. Maybe they're just searching the neighborhood. Maybe—" The SUV's engine started. Daniel and Maria held their breath. The SUV pulled away slowly, disappeared around the corner. They waited. 1 minute, 2, 5. It didn't come back. Maria exhaled. "That was too close. They're looking for us, which means they're scared, which means we're on the right track." Maria nodded, but her hands were shaking. "Tomorrow night," she said. "We can't wait any longer." Daniel agreed. Tomorrow night. We end this. The morning of the gala arrived. Maria laid out her old housekeeper uniform. She hadn't worn it in weeks. It felt strange now, like putting on a costume from another life. Rosa helped her pin up her hair differently, applied makeup that aged her face, changed her appearance just enough. "You look like my sister," Rosa said, "not like you." "Good. That's the point." Daniel handed her a small bag. Inside was a flashlight, gloves, and the burner phone. "The office is on the second floor east wing," he said. "The safe is behind the painting of my grandfather. The code is 7294, my mother's birthday. And if the code's been changed, it hasn't. Victoria doesn't know about that safe. I never told her." Maria took the bag. Their eyes met. "Be careful," Daniel said. "Please." "I will." She walked to the door, stopped, turned back. "Daniel, if I don't come back..." "You'll come back. But if I don't, promise me you'll keep fighting. Promise me you won't let them win." Daniel crossed the room, took her hands in his. "You're coming back, and we're going to destroy them together. That's a promise." Maria nodded, squeezed his hands once, then walked out the door. Daniel watched her go. The woman who had saved his life. The woman who was now risking hers. He sat down by the radio, started the recording device, and waited for the longest night of his life to begin. The sun had barely set when Maria pulled her old Honda into a parking spot 3 blocks from the Carter mansion. Her hands gripped the steering wheel so tight, her knuckles turned white. She could hear the distant sound of music drifting from the estate. The gala had begun. She pressed the earpiece deeper into her ear. "Daniel, can you hear me?" His voice crackled through, loud and clear. "How are you feeling?" "Like I'm about to rob a bank." "You're not robbing anything. You're taking back what's ours." Maria took a deep breath. "I'm going in now." She stepped out of the car and walked toward the mansion. Every step felt heavy. Every heartbeat felt like a drum. She had cleaned this house for 15 years. She knew every corner, every shadow, every secret. Tonight those secrets would set them free. The service entrance was exactly where she remembered. Maria slipped through the side gate and made her way toward the basement window. Just as she'd told Daniel, it was still broken. Brandon had never bothered to fix it. She pushed the window open and crawled inside. The basement was dark and dusty, old furniture covered in white sheets, boxes stacked against the walls, the smell of mold and forgotten things. "I'm in," she whispered. "Good. Remember, the staff will be busy with the gala. Use the back staircase." Maria moved through the basement toward the stairs. Her heart was pounding so loud she was sure someone would hear it. She reached the ground floor and pressed her back against the wall. Voices echoed from the main hall. Laughter, music, the clinking of champagne glasses. Victoria's party was in full swing. Maria adjusted her uniform and stepped into the hallway. She kept her head down. Walked with purpose. Just another servant doing her job. A waiter passed her carrying a tray of hors d'oeuvres. He didn't even glance at her. She was invisible, just like always. "Maria," Daniel's voice came through the earpiece. "Status. Ground floor, moving toward the back staircase. Be careful. Brandon's security team is everywhere." Maria turned a corner and froze. 2 guards stood at the bottom of the stairs. Both were new. She didn't recognize them, but they might recognize her from the news. She ducked into a supply closet and pressed her hand over her mouth. "Problem," she whispered. "Guards at the stairs. Can you go around?" "Maybe. Give me a minute." Maria waited, listened. The guards were talking about football, complaining about working on a Saturday night. Then a voice called out from the kitchen. "Hey, we need help moving these cases." One guard groaned. "I'll go. You stay here." Maria heard footsteps moving away. One guard left, but one remained. She couldn't wait any longer. Maria stepped out of the closet and walked directly toward the remaining guard. Her heart was in her throat. "Excuse me," she said, keeping her head down. "Mrs. Carter asked for extra towels in the upstairs bathroom." The guard looked at her. Really looked at her. Maria felt her blood turn to ice. "I don't recognize you," he said. "I'm with the catering company. Started last week." The guard studied her face. Maria forced herself to breathe normally. "ID. It's in the kitchen. I can go get it if you want." The guard hesitated. Behind him, someone dropped a tray. Glass shattered. People shouted. The guard turned toward the noise. "Go, but make it quick." Maria didn't wait for him to change his mind. She moved past him and up the stairs. Her legs were shaking so badly she could barely climb. "That was close," Daniel said in her ear. "Too close." She reached the second floor. The east wing was quieter here. Most of the action was downstairs at the party, but she could still hear voices, still feel the danger pressing in from every direction. Daniel's office was at the end of the hall. The door was closed. Maria approached slowly, checked both directions. No one in sight. She tried the handle. Locked. "Daniel, the door is locked." "There's a keypad on the right side. Code is 1987. Maria found the keypad, entered the code. The lock clicked open. She slipped inside and closed the door behind her. The office looked exactly as she remembered. The heavy oak desk, the leather chairs, the wall of books, and behind the painting of Daniel's grandfather, the safe. Maria moved to the painting and lifted it off the wall. The safe was there. Small, metal, waiting. "I found it," she whispered. Entering the code now. She punched in 7294. The safe didn't open. Maria's stomach dropped. "Daniel, the code isn't working." "What? That's impossible. Try again." She tried again. 7294. Nothing. "It's not opening. They must have changed it." Silence on the other end. Then Daniel's voice strained with panic. "Think. Think. What would Victoria use? I don't know. A birthday. An anniversary. Try our wedding date. June 15th, 2004. 61504. Maria entered the numbers. The safe clicked open. She exhaled. "I'm in." Inside the safe, she found exactly what they needed. A small vial with clear liquid, medical documents with forged signatures, and a USB drive labeled Security Backup. "I have everything," she said. "The vial, the documents, the drive. Get out of there. Now." Maria put everything in her bag, replaced the painting, turned toward the door, and heard voices in the hallway. She froze. "I'm telling you, I saw someone go into Daniel's office." A man's voice, deep, suspicious. "You're paranoid. The office is locked." Another voice, female, annoyed, "Victoria." Maria's blood turned to ice. She looked around desperately. There was nowhere to hide. The desk was too small. The closet was too obvious. The door handle began to turn. Maria dove under the desk, pulled the chair in front of her, pressed herself against the back panel. The door opened. Through the small gap between the chair and the desk, Maria could see 2 pairs of shoes enter the room. Victoria's red heels, Brandon's polished black Oxfords. "See?" Victoria said. "Empty. You're wasting my time." "I could have sworn." "You could have sworn nothing. The gala is full of people who want to talk to me. Important people. Not ghosts in empty offices." Brandon walked further into the room. His shoes stopped inches from the desk. Maria stopped breathing. "Something feels off," Brandon said. "I can smell it." "The only thing you should smell is the champagne I'm missing. Let's go." Brandon didn't move. "Did you check the safe recently?" "Why would I?" You said Daniel's the only one who knows the code. And Daniel is missing. What if someone— Victoria laughed. Someone what? Broke in, cracked a code they don't know. Please, you're being ridiculous. Brandon was silent for a long moment. Then his shoes turned, started walking toward the door. Fine, but I'm posting a guard outside this door for the rest of the night. Do whatever makes you feel better. They left. The door closed. Maria didn't move for a full minute. Her heart was beating so fast she thought she might pass out. Maria. Daniel's voice in her ear. Maria, are you okay? They were here, she whispered. They were right here. Brandon wants to post a guard. Then you need to move. Right now. Maria crawled out from under the desk. Her whole body was trembling. She moved to the door and pressed her ear against it. Voices outside. Brandon giving orders to someone. The guard was already in position. I can't go out the door, she said. There's a guard. The window. Can you reach the window? Maria looked across the room. The window overlooked the garden. It was a 2-story drop. Daniel, I'll break my legs. There's a trellis on the east wall. It goes all the way down. Can you reach it? Maria moved to the window. Looked outside. The trellis was there. Old. Wooden. Covered in ivy. I see it. But I don't know if it'll hold my weight. It has to. You don't have another choice. Maria opened the window. The night air rushed in. Below, she could see guests wandering through the garden, laughing, drinking, completely unaware. She climbed onto the windowsill. Her hands gripped the frame. Here goes nothing. She reached for the trellis. Her fingers found the wooden slats. She pulled herself out of the window and began to climb down. The wood creaked under her weight. One slat cracked. Maria froze. What was that? Daniel asked. The trellis is breaking. Keep moving. Don't stop. She climbed faster. Another slat cracked, then another. She was 10 feet from the ground when the whole section gave way. Maria fell. She hit the ground hard. Pain shot through her ankle. She bit her lip to keep from screaming. Maria, Maria, are you okay? She lay in the bushes gasping for breath. Her ankle was on fire, but she could move it, not broken, probably just sprained. I'm okay, she whispered. I'm okay. Can you walk? Maria pushed herself up, put weight on her ankle. The pain was intense, but bearable. I can walk. I'm moving to the car now. She limped through the garden, staying in the shadows. Guests passed nearby, but no one noticed the servant hobbling through the darkness. She was almost at the side gate when she heard it. Hey, you there, stop. Maria didn't stop. She ran. Her ankle screamed with every step, but she kept going. Through the gate, down the street, past the parked cars. She could hear footsteps behind her. Someone was chasing her. Maria, where are you? Being chased, 2 blocks from the car. Get in and drive. Don't wait for me to talk. Just drive. Maria reached her Honda, fumbled with the keys, dropped them. Come on, come on, come on. She grabbed the keys, unlocked the door, threw herself inside. The footsteps were getting closer. She started the engine, slammed her foot on the gas. The car lurched forward just as a hand slapped against her window. Maria didn't look back. She drove. Fast, reckless, running every red light. I'm out, she gasped. I'm out. I have everything. Daniel's voice came through thick with relief. Thank God. Come home. Come home right now. Maria drove through the streets of Los Angeles, her hands shaking on the wheel. The bag with the evidence sat on the passenger seat beside her. Everything they needed. Everything that would destroy Victoria and Brandon. But she wasn't safe yet. She wouldn't be safe until she was back with Daniel. 20 minutes later, she pulled into the alley behind Rosa's house. Daniel was waiting at the gate. He rushed to the car and opened her door. Are you hurt? My ankle. I fell from the trellis. Daniel helped her out of the car, wrapped his arm around her waist. supported her weight as they moved toward the house. "Did you get it? Did you get everything?" Maria handed him the bag. Everything. The vial, the documents, the security footage. Daniel clutched the bag like it was made of gold. "You did it. You actually did it." Rosa met them at the door. Her face went pale when she saw Maria limping. "Mija, what happened?" "I fell. I'm okay, Mama." Rosa didn't believe her. She guided Maria to the couch and immediately began examining her ankle. "It's swollen. You need ice and rest. Later. First, we need to see what's on that drive." Daniel pulled out his laptop, plugged in the USB drive. The folder contained hundreds of files, video recordings, audio files, documents, emails. "This is years of surveillance," Daniel said, scrolling through the files. "I set up this system to protect against corporate espionage. I never thought—" He stopped. His face went white. "What is it?" Maria asked. Daniel clicked on a video file dated 3 months ago. The screen showed his kitchen. Victoria stood at the counter making a smoothie. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small vial, poured the contents into the blender. Then she looked directly at the camera and smiled. "She knew," Daniel whispered. "She knew the camera was there, and she smiled." Maria felt sick. "She wanted you to see it, eventually. After you were dead." Daniel's hands were shaking. "She wanted me to know it was her, even from the grave." He clicked on another file. Audio this time. Brandon's voice filled the room. "The thallium is working faster than expected. Another month, maybe 6 weeks. Then we'll have everything, the company, the money, each other." Victoria's voice responded. "What about the investigation? If anyone suspects—" "No one will suspect anything. I've got Morrison in my pocket. I've got the doctors at Cedars paid off. Everyone thinks Daniel is just stressed, working too hard. By the time anyone figures out the truth, we'll be in Monaco sipping champagne." They both laughed. Daniel stopped the recording. His face was a mask of controlled rage. "That's enough. We have what we need." Maria looked at him. "What do we do now?" Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Tomorrow night. The gala continues until midnight. Victoria will still be in the spotlight. The media will still be watching. You want to go back there? I want to end this. In front of everyone. In front of the cameras. In front of the world." Maria stared at him. "Daniel, that's suicide. They'll have security everywhere. Brandon's men won't be expecting a dead man to walk through the front door." Rosa stepped forward. "This is dangerous. Too dangerous." "It's the only way," Daniel said. "If we leak this footage quietly, they'll spin it. They'll say it's fake. They'll say Maria manipulated me. They'll bury it in lawyers and money. But if I walk into that gala alive with this evidence playing on every screen in the room—" He looked at Maria. "They won't be able to hide anymore. The whole world will see them for what they are." Maria's ankle throbbed. Her body was exhausted. Every rational part of her brain screamed that this was insane. But she looked at Daniel's face, saw the determination there, the rage, the justice. "Okay," she said. "Tomorrow night, we finish this." Daniel nodded, took her hand. "Together." Rosa shook her head. "You're both crazy." "Maybe," Maria said. "But sometimes crazy is the only option." They spent the rest of the night preparing. Daniel reviewed every piece of evidence on the drive. Maria rested her ankle and helped organize their plan. At 3 a.m. the news came on. Victoria's face filled the screen again. "The search for my husband continues," she said, dabbing at her eyes. "I'm offering an additional reward of $1 million. Please, if anyone knows anything, I just want Daniel home safe." Daniel watched his wife lie with perfect precision. Every tear calculated, every word rehearsed. "Enjoy it while it lasts," he said to the screen, "because tomorrow the world sees the real you." Maria limped over to stand beside him. "Are you ready for this?" Daniel turned off the television. "I've been ready since the moment I heard them laughing about my death." He looked at Maria. This woman who had saved his life. This woman who had risked everything for him. "Thank you," he said. "For everything. No matter what happens tomorrow, I need you to know that." Maria smiled. A tired, battle-worn smile. "Save your thank yous for after we win." Daniel nodded. After we win. Outside, the sun was beginning to rise. A new day was coming. And with it, the reckoning that Victoria and Brandon never saw coming. The morning sun crept through the thin curtains of Rosa's house, but no one had slept. Daniel sat at the small kitchen table watching the surveillance footage for the 100th time. Every replay made his rage burn hotter. Every smile Victoria gave to the camera felt like a knife twisting in his chest. Maria limped in from the bedroom at 7 a.m. Her ankle was wrapped tightly, but she refused to let it slow her down. "How's the pain?" Daniel asked without looking up. "Manageable. How's yours?" Daniel finally turned from the screen. His eyes were red from exhaustion and anger. "Getting worse by the minute." Rosa set 2 cups of coffee on the table. "You both need to eat. You can't fight a war on empty stomachs." "Mama, I'm not hungry." "I don't care. Eat." Maria sat down and forced herself to take a bite of toast. Her stomach was in knots, but she knew Rosa was right. Tonight would take everything they had. Daniel's burner phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and his jaw tightened. "What is it?" Maria asked. "News alert. Victoria just announced she's extending the gala another night. A candlelight vigil for me. She's asking the whole city to pray for my safe return." Maria felt her hands clench into fists. The audacity! She's smart. The longer she plays the grieving wife, the more sympathy she gets. By the time anyone suspects the truth, she'll have the whole country on her side. "Then we don't give her another day." Daniel nodded. "Tonight. We end this tonight." At 9 a.m., Maria's phone rang. She didn't recognize the number. She answered cautiously. "Hello? Maria Santos." The voice was familiar. Maria's blood ran cold. "Who is this?" "It's Detective Morrison. I know you're with Daniel. I know you're hiding him." Maria's hand trembled. She looked at Daniel, panic in her eyes. Daniel grabbed the phone, put it on speaker. "James," he said. "So the rumors are true. You sold me out to my brother." Morrison's voice was calm. Too calm. "Daniel, thank God you're alive. Listen to me carefully. Whatever you think is happening, you're wrong. You need to come in. Turn yourself in before this gets worse." "Worse?" "My wife and brother are poisoning me, James. They're trying to kill me, and you're helping them." Silence on the other end. "I don't know what Maria has told you," Morrison finally said, "but she's manipulating you. She's after your money. This whole thing is a setup." Daniel laughed bitterly. "A setup? I have footage, James. I have recordings of Victoria and Brandon planning my murder. I have the poison they used. I have everything." Morrison's voice changed, became harder. "Where did you get that footage?" "From my own security system. The one I never told anyone about, not even you." Another long silence. "Daniel, listen to me. Whatever you're planning, don't do it. Brandon has people everywhere. If you try to go public with this, they'll destroy you before you can say a word." "Is that a threat?" "It's a warning, from an old friend." Daniel's voice turned to ice. "You stopped being my friend the day you took Brandon's money. Stay away from me, James. Stay away from Maria. And tell my brother and wife to enjoy their last night of freedom." He hung up. Maria stared at him. "They know we're planning something." "Good. Let them be scared for once." At 11 a.m., Daniel made another call. This one to someone he hoped he could still trust. "Rebecca Chen's office." "I need to speak with Rebecca. Tell her it's Daniel Carter." A pause, then a click. "Daniel." Rebecca's voice was sharp with disbelief. Daniel, is that really you? It's me. My God, the whole city thinks you're dead or crazy. Where are you? Somewhere safe, for now. Rebecca Chen was the top investigative journalist at the Los Angeles Tribune. She had won 2 Pulitzer Prizes. She was also the only reporter who had ever written a fair story about Daniel back when his competitors tried to smear him years ago. Rebecca, I need your help, but first, I need to know if I can trust you. Daniel, I've known you for 15 years. Of course you can trust me. Brandon offered you money once to kill a story about corporate fraud. You turned him down. I remember. Would you turn him down again, even if the story was bigger, even if it was dangerous? Rebecca was quiet for a moment. What kind of story are we talking about? The kind that destroys empires, the kind that sends people to prison, the kind that could get you killed if you're not careful. Now you have my attention. Daniel took a deep breath. My wife and brother have been poisoning me for months. They're planning to take over my company and make my death look natural. I have proof. Video, audio, documents, everything. Jesus Christ. I'm going to expose them tonight, at the gala, in front of everyone. I need you there to make sure the story gets out, no matter what happens to me. Rebecca was silent for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was steady. Tell me when and where. At 2 p.m., Daniel and Maria went over the plan one final time. The gala starts at 7, Daniel said. Victoria will give her speech around 9. That's when we move. How do we get in your face is all over the news. I've thought about that. Daniel pulled out a delivery uniform from a bag. Food service. They'll have dozens of catering vans going in and out. We blend in with the staff. Maria looked at the uniform. And once we're inside, we make our way to the main ballroom. I've sent Rebecca the footage. She'll have it ready to broadcast on every screen in the house the moment I give the signal. What's the signal? Daniel's eyes hardened. Me, walking into that room, alive. Maria shook her head. Brandon will have security everywhere. The second they see you. They won't see me, not until it's too late. Rosa came into the room. Her face was grave. There's something else you should know. She turned on the television. A breaking news banner flashed across the screen. Police issue arrest warrant for Maria Santos in Carter disappearance. Maria's photo filled the screen. Below it the words, wanted for questioning. The reporter spoke gravely. Authorities say Maria Santos, the longtime housekeeper of billionaire Daniel Carter, is now considered a person of interest in his disappearance. Sources close to the investigation suggest she may have been involved in a financial scheme to defraud the Carter family. Maria felt the room spin. They're going to arrest me. The moment I show my face anywhere, they'll arrest me. Daniel grabbed her shoulders. That's why we have to do this tonight. Once the truth comes out, once the world sees what Victoria and Brandon have done, all of this goes away. And if we fail, Daniel looked into her eyes, we won't fail. At 4 p.m., Daniel received a text from an unknown number. I know what you're planning. Meet me at the parking garage on 5th and Main. Come alone. I have information you need. Daniel showed the message to Maria. It's a trap, she said immediately. Probably. Then why are you even considering it? Because if it's not a trap, it could be someone trying to help. Someone on the inside. Maria grabbed his arm. Daniel, you can barely walk. The poison is still in your system. If Brandon's men get you alone, I won't be alone. Daniel pulled out a small recording device. Everything that happens you'll hear. If something goes wrong, call Rebecca. Release the footage. Don't wait for me. Daniel, promise me, Maria. If I don't come back, you finish this. Maria's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. I promise. At 5 p.m., Daniel arrived at the parking garage. It was empty except for a single car parked in the corner. He approached slowly. His body was weak, but his mind was sharp. The car door opened. A woman stepped out. Daniel stopped cold. "Hello, Daniel." It was his assistant, Jennifer Walsh. She had worked for him for 8 years. "Jennifer, what are you doing here?" Jennifer's face was pale, nervous. "I know about Victoria and Brandon. I've known for months." Daniel felt his anger rising. "You knew, and you didn't tell me." "I was scared. Brandon threatened my family. He said if I told anyone he'd have my sister killed. She has 2 kids, Daniel. I couldn't risk it." "So you just let them poison me?" Tears streamed down Jennifer's face. "I tried to warn you. I kept telling you to see a different doctor. I switched out your vitamins when I could. But it wasn't enough. They were putting it in everything. Your food, your drinks, even your toothpaste." Daniel felt sick. "My toothpaste." Victoria was thorough. She wanted to make sure there was no way you'd survive. Daniel leaned against a pillar for support. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I can't live with myself anymore. And because I know you're planning something tonight." "How do you know that?" Jennifer reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. "Because I've been keeping my own records. Emails between Brandon and Detective Morrison, bank transfers, everything. I was going to use it as insurance. But now..." She thrust the folder toward Daniel. "Take it. Use it. Destroy them." Daniel took the folder, opened it. His eyes went wide. Inside were documents showing payments from Brandon to at least a dozen officials. Police, doctors, judges, even a city councilman. "This is a conspiracy," Daniel breathed. "They've bought half the city. That's why you can't go to the authorities. That's why you have to do this publicly. It's the only way." Daniel looked up at Jennifer. "Why should I trust you? After everything?" Jennifer's voice broke. "Because I'm dying, Daniel. The stress, the guilt, the fear. I have stage 4 cancer. The doctors gave me 6 months. I want to do one good thing before I go. Let me help you end this." Daniel stared at her for a long moment. Then he reached out and took her hand. "Thank you, Jennifer. This changes everything." At 6:30 p.m., Daniel returned to Rosa's house. Maria was pacing by the window. "Thank God," she breathed when she saw him. "I thought..." "I'm fine. Better than fine." He held up the folder. "We have more ammunition than we ever imagined." He spread the documents on the table. Maria's eyes grew wider with each page. "They've been paying off half the city," she said. "Which means our plan just got more important. We can't trust anyone. Not the police, not the courts, not anyone but ourselves." Rosa looked at the documents with horror. "These people are monsters." "They're worse than monsters," Daniel said. "They're rich monsters. And rich monsters think they're untouchable." He looked at Maria. "Are you ready?" Maria straightened her spine, ignored the pain in her ankle. "I've been ready since the day I found out what they were doing to you." At 7 p.m., they loaded into Maria's Honda. Rosa hugged her daughter tight. "Come back to me, mija. Please." "I will, Mama. I promise." Daniel shook Rosa's hand. "Thank you. For everything. I'll never forget what you've done." Rosa looked him in the eye. "Just bring my daughter home safe. That's all the thanks I need." They drove toward Bel Air as the sun set over Los Angeles. The city was bathed in golden light. Beautiful, deceptive, like Victoria herself. Daniel felt his heart pounding as they got closer. In just a few hours, everything would change. Either they would expose the truth, or they would die trying. There was no in-between. At 7:45 p.m., they parked 3 blocks from the mansion. Catering vans filled the street. Staff rushed back and forth carrying supplies. Daniel and Maria put on their delivery uniforms. Just 2 more anonymous workers in a sea of anonymous workers. "Remember," Daniel said, "we stay together until we reach the service entrance. Then we split up. You find a position near the main screen. I'll make my way to the ballroom. And if someone recognizes you, They won't. I've lost 30 pounds. I look like a ghost. No one expects a dead man to be serving hors d'oeuvres. Maria wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. Daniel Carter had always been a presence. Large, confident, commanding. This man beside her was a shadow of that. Thin, pale, hunted. It was the perfect disguise. At 8 p.m. they entered through the service entrance. Guards checked IDs but barely glanced at their faces. Just waved them through. Inside the kitchen was chaos. Dozens of workers shouting cooking plating. No one paid attention to two more bodies in uniforms. They moved through the house like ghosts. Maria's ankle screamed with every step, but she didn't slow down. Daniel pressed the earpiece deeper into his ear. "Rebecca, are you in position?" Rebecca's voice came through clearly. "Main entrance. Camera crew is ready. The moment you give the signal, we broadcast everything." "Good. Stand by." At 8:30 p.m., they reached the edge of the main ballroom. Through the doorway, Daniel could see them. Victoria stood center stage, radiant in a black evening gown, playing the grieving wife to perfection. Brandon stood beside her, his hand on her shoulder in a gesture of support. Around them, 300 of LA's elite sipped champagne and murmured sympathies. Daniel felt Maria's hand grip his. "Are you okay?" she whispered. Daniel watched his wife smile, watched her accept condolences for the death she had caused. "I'm perfect," he said. "Let's finish this." At 8:45 p.m., Maria took her position near the main screen control panel. A technician sat there monitoring the feeds. Maria approached with a tray of champagne. "Refreshment." The technician smiled. "Thanks. Been waiting for someone to notice us little people." Maria smiled back. "I know the feeling." She set the tray down, palmed the USB drive Daniel had given her, waited. At 8:55 p.m., Victoria stepped up to the microphone. The room fell silent. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she said, her voice breaking with practiced emotion. "The past week has been the hardest of my life. Not knowing where my husband is, not knowing if he's safe. It's been unbearable." She dabbed at her eyes. "Daniel was my everything. My partner, my best friend, my soulmate. And I won't rest until he's found." Brandon stepped forward. "We're offering $2 million now for any information. Please, if anyone knows anything, help us bring Daniel home." The crowd applauded sympathetically. Daniel stepped out of the shadows. "I'm already home." Every head turned. Every mouth fell open. 300 people stared at the ghost in the doorway. Victoria's face went white. Brandon's champagne glass shattered on the floor. Daniel walked forward, slowly, deliberately, his eyes never leaving his wife's face. "Hello, Victoria," he said. "Miss me?" Victoria's mouth opened, but no sound came out. For the first time in her life, she had nothing to say. Brandon recovered first. He stepped forward, his face twisting into a mask of false relief. "Daniel, thank God you're alive. We've been so worried. Where have you been?" Daniel ignored him completely. His eyes stayed locked on Victoria. "You look surprised, sweetheart. Were you expecting someone else, a corpse perhaps?" The crowd murmured. Confusion rippled through the room. Phones appeared in hands. Cameras started flashing. Victoria finally found her voice. "Daniel, darling, you're not well. You look terrible. Let me help you." She moved toward him, arms outstretched. The perfect image of a concerned wife. Daniel held up his hand. "Don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me." Victoria stopped. Her eyes flickered with something dark, something dangerous. "Daniel, please. You're scaring our guests. Whatever is happening, we can talk about it privately." Privately? Like you and Brandon talked privately about how long I had to live. The murmurs grew louder. Brandon stepped forward again. "Daniel, you're clearly having some kind of episode. The stress of running the company, your health issues. Let's get you upstairs where you can rest." He reached for Daniel's arm. Daniel pulled back. Touch me, and I'll break your hand. Brandon's mask slipped for just a second. His eyes went hard, cold. The eyes of a killer. Security, he called out. My brother is unwell. Please escort him somewhere quiet. 2 guards moved toward Daniel. Maria watched from her position near the control panel. Her heart was pounding. This was it, the moment everything would change. She turned to the technician. I'm sorry about this. Sorry about what? Maria grabbed the champagne bottle from her tray and brought it down on the technician's head. He slumped forward unconscious. She plugged the USB drive into the control panel. On stage, the guards had almost reached Daniel, but he didn't move, didn't flinch. Before you throw me out, Daniel said loudly, his voice carrying across the ballroom. I think everyone here deserves to see something. The screens around the room flickered. Then Victoria's face appeared, larger than life, smiling into a camera as she poured poison into a smoothie. The room went dead silent. Victoria's recorded voice filled the space. Another dose for my darling husband. Sweet dreams, Daniel. On screen she laughed. A cold, cruel laugh that made several guests step backward. Then the audio recordings began playing. Brandon's voice first. The thallium is working perfectly. 6 more weeks and he'll be gone. Heart failure. Clean. Untraceable. Then Victoria's response. I've been waiting for this for years. You have no idea how exhausting it is pretending to love a man I can barely stand to touch. Gasps erupted throughout the ballroom. A woman near the front dropped her champagne glass. It shattered on the marble floor. Victoria lunged for the nearest screen. Turn it off! Someone turn it off! But the footage kept playing. More recordings, more evidence. The entire conspiracy laid bare for 300 witnesses. Brandon's face had gone gray. He turned toward the service entrance looking for an escape. Detective Morrison was already there blocking the exit, but he wasn't alone. FBI agents poured into the room from every entrance. Nobody move! Agent Rodriguez shouted, badge held high. This building is surrounded. Brandon spun around desperate. Morrison? Do something! Morrison looked at him with dead eyes. It's over, Brandon. I'm done. What are you talking about? I paid you millions. And I kept records of every cent, every conversation, every order you gave me. Morrison pulled out a folder. Did you really think I'd go down for you? I'm not dying in prison for your greed. Brandon's face contorted with rage. You traitor, takes one to know one. At 9:15 p.m., chaos erupted. Guests scrambled for the exits. Security guards didn't know who to obey. Cameras flashed from every direction as Rebecca Chen's crew captured everything. Victoria grabbed a champagne bottle and hurled it at the nearest screen. Glass exploded across the floor, but the footage kept playing on a dozen other monitors. This is fake, she screamed. It's all fake. That woman, that maid, she manipulated the footage. She's trying to destroy us. Daniel walked toward her slowly. Every step was deliberate. Every eye in the room watched him. That's your defense, Victoria. After everything you've done, your defense is that Maria made it up. She's been after your money for years. Can't you see that she seduced you? She turned you against your own family. Daniel stopped 3 feet from his wife. Maria saved my life. She risked everything to protect me while you were putting poison in my breakfast. I watched you do it, Victoria. I watched you smile at the camera while you tried to kill me. The whole world just watched you do it. Victoria's composure finally shattered. The mask fell away completely. You were supposed to die, she screamed. You were supposed to die quietly and leave everything to us. That's all you had to do. But you couldn't even do that right. The room went absolutely silent. Victoria seemed to realize what she had said. She looked around at the horrified faces, the recording phones, the FBI agents moving toward her. I want a lawyer, she whispered. I'm not saying anything else without a lawyer. Agent Rodriguez stepped forward. Victoria Carter, you're under arrest for attempted murder conspiracy to commit murder and fraud. You have the right to remain silent. Victoria didn't resist as they put the handcuffs on. Her eyes stayed locked on Daniel's face. You think you've won? She hissed. You think this is over? I will destroy you. I will destroy everything you love. Even from prison, I will make your life hell. Daniel leaned close. His voice was low. Only she could hear. You already tried to destroy me, Victoria. You failed. Now it's my turn. He stepped back and watched them lead her away. At 9:30 p.m., Brandon made his move. While everyone was focused on Victoria's arrest, he slipped toward the kitchen entrance. He had a plane waiting at a private airfield. If he could just get there, he could disappear. Start over somewhere without extradition treaties. He was almost at the door when Maria stepped into his path. Going somewhere? Brandon's face twisted with hatred. Get out of my way. No. I said move. He shoved her hard. Maria stumbled, but didn't fall. Her ankle screamed in pain, but she held her ground. You're not leaving this house, Brandon. Not tonight, not ever. Brandon laughed. A desperate, ugly sound. What are you going to do? You're nothing. You're a maid. You clean toilets for a living. I'm the maid who brought you down. Brandon's hand shot out and grabbed Maria's throat. He slammed her against the wall. I should have killed you months ago, he snarled. I told Victoria you were dangerous, but she said you were too stupid to be a threat. Maria couldn't breathe. His hands were crushing her windpipe. Dark spots danced at the edges of her vision. Daniel! She tried to scream, but only a whisper came out. Brandon squeezed harder. No one is coming to save you. No one cares about a worthless... Something heavy crashed into Brandon's skull. He released Maria and crumpled to the floor. Rosa stood over him holding a cast-iron pan. Her eyes were fierce. Don't you ever touch my daughter again. Maria gasped for air. Mama, what are you doing here? You think I was going to stay home while my baby faced these monsters alone? I took a taxi. Maria couldn't help it. Despite everything, she laughed. Then she hugged her mother tight. You're crazy, Mama. I learned it from you. FBI agents rushed over and secured Brandon. He was still breathing but barely conscious. This one too, Agent Rodriguez called out. Attempted murder, assault, and about 40 other charges. At 9:45 p.m., Daniel found Maria in the hallway. She was sitting on the floor, her mother beside her, both of them exhausted. He knelt down in front of them. It's over, he said. We did it. Maria looked up at him. Her neck was already bruising from Brandon's grip, but her eyes were clear, strong. Did they get everyone? Whoa. Victoria, Brandon, Morrison. Jennifer gave them everything. They're rounding up the doctors, the judges, everyone who took money. Rosa shook her head. So many people. How could so many people help them do this? Money, Daniel said bitterly. Money makes monsters out of ordinary people. He helped Maria to her feet. She winced as she put weight on her ankle. You need a hospital, Daniel said. I'm fine. You're not fine. You haven't been fine since you fell from that trellis. You're going to a hospital. That's not a request. Maria wanted to argue, but she was too tired, too hurt, too overwhelmed by everything that had happened. Okay, she whispered. Okay. At 10 p.m., Rebecca Chen found Daniel standing alone in the garden. The gala had been completely evacuated. Police tape surrounded the mansion. News vans lined the street. Hell of a story, Rebecca said, walking up beside him. Hell of a night. The footage is already everywhere. Every network is running it. It's the biggest story of the year. Daniel nodded slowly. He should feel victorious. He should feel relieved. But all he felt was empty. 20 years, he said quietly. I was married to her for 20 years. I slept next to her every night. I told her everything, and the whole time she was waiting for the right moment to kill me." Rebecca didn't have any words of comfort. There were none that would help. "What happens now?" she asked instead. "Now I figure out what's left of my life." "And Maria?" Daniel looked toward the ambulance where paramedics were loading Maria onto a stretcher. Rosa held her hand, refusing to let go. "Maria is a hero," Daniel said. "The world needs to know that. She saved my life. She risked everything. She's the reason any of this happened. I'll make sure the story tells her truth. Thank you, Rebecca, for everything." Rebecca nodded and walked away to join her crew. Daniel stood alone in the garden of the home he had built. The home that had become a crime scene. The home where his wife had tried to murder him. At 10:30 p.m., Agent Rodriguez approached Daniel with a folder. "Mr. Carter, I need to brief you on what we found." Daniel took the folder. Inside were bank statements, emails, and photographs. "The conspiracy goes deeper than we thought," Rodriguez explained. "Brandon and Victoria weren't just trying to kill you. They were planning to sell the company to a foreign investment group. The deal was worth $3 billion. Daniel stared at the numbers. "They were going to sell everything I built. And disappear. We found evidence of offshore accounts, fake identities, even a yacht waiting in international waters." "How long had they been planning this?" Rodriguez hesitated. "Based on the earliest emails, at least 5 years. 5 years. 5 years of lies. 5 years of pretending. 5 years of slowly, methodically planning his death." "There's something else," Rodriguez said. "Something you should know." He pulled out a photograph. Daniel's blood ran cold. It was a photo of Victoria and Brandon, but not from recently. From years ago. They were standing on a beach somewhere, tropical arms around each other, kissing. The timestamp on the photo was from their honeymoon, his honeymoon with Victoria. "They've been together this whole time," Daniel whispered. "My entire marriage was a lie. I'm sorry, Mr. Carter. I thought you should know." Daniel handed the folder back. His hands were steady, but his heart was shattered. "Thank you, Agent Rodriguez. Is there anything else you need from me tonight?" "We'll need a formal statement tomorrow, but for now, you should get some rest. You've been through hell." Daniel laughed bitterly. Hell would have been easier. At 11 p.m., Daniel arrived at the hospital. Maria was in a private room. Rosa sat in a chair beside her bed, finally asleep. Maria looked up when Daniel walked in. Her neck was wrapped in bandages. Her ankle was elevated. An IV dripped fluids into her arm. "You should be resting," she said. "I couldn't." He sat down on the edge of her bed. "I needed to see you." Maria studied his face. Even now exhausted and broken, she could read him perfectly. "What happened?" Daniel told her about the photograph, about the 5-year timeline, about the complete and utter betrayal. Maria listened without interrupting. When he finished, she reached out and took his hand. "I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry. None of this is your fault." "I know. But I'm still sorry. No one deserves what they did to you." Daniel squeezed her hand. "You know what's strange? I should hate them. I should want revenge. But right now, all I feel is grateful. Grateful. Grateful that I'm alive. Grateful that you were there. Grateful that I finally know the truth, even if it destroys me." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "You're not destroyed. You're still here, still fighting. That means something." "It means everything." They sat in silence for a while. The hospital hummed around them. Machines beeped. Nurses walked past. Life continued even after everything. At 11:30 p.m., Rosa woke up. She saw Daniel holding Maria's hand and smiled. "You stayed," she said. "I couldn't leave." Rosa stood and stretched. "I'm going to get coffee." You two need to talk." She left the room, closing the door gently behind her. Maria turned to Daniel. "What are you going to do now?" "I don't know. Rebuild, I guess. The company will need new leadership. The board will need reassurance. There's a lot of damage to repair." And after that, Daniel was quiet for a long moment. "After that, I want to do something meaningful. Something that matters." "Like what?" "Like making sure this never happens to anyone else. Like helping people who don't have power fight against people who do." Maria smiled. "That sounds like you. It sounds like something you would say. Maybe I'm rubbing off on you." Daniel laughed. For the first time in weeks, it was a real laugh. "Maria, I want you to know something. Whatever happens next, whatever I build, I want you to be part of it." Maria's smile faded. "Daniel, I'm a housekeeper." "You were a housekeeper. Now you're the woman who exposed the biggest corruption scandal in Los Angeles history. You're a hero, Maria. And I need heroes." "I don't know anything about business." "You know about people. You know about truth. You know about courage. That's worth more than any MBA." Maria looked at him. This man who had lost everything. This man who had every reason to give up. And yet here he was planning a future. Planning a fight. "I'll think about it," she said. "That's all I ask." At midnight, Detective Morrison was processed into federal custody. He would face charges of corruption, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. Brandon Carter was transported to a maximum security facility. His bail was denied. Victoria Carter was placed in solitary confinement after she attacked a guard. She screamed Daniel's name for hours. In a small hospital room, Daniel Carter finally fell asleep. He was sitting in a chair next to Maria's bed, his head resting on the mattress, his hand still holding hers. Rosa sat in the corner watching them. She had seen many things in her 80 years: pain, loss, betrayal. But she had also seen this: two people who had found each other in the darkness. Two people who had fought impossible odds. Two people who had won. She pulled out her rosary and began to pray. Outside, the sun was beginning to rise over Los Angeles. The news was still running. The world was still talking. Victoria and Brandon's faces were everywhere. But inside that hospital room, there was only peace. Maria opened her eyes briefly. She saw Daniel sleeping beside her, saw her mother praying in the corner. She smiled and closed her eyes again. For the first time in weeks, she wasn't afraid. For the first time in her life, she felt like she mattered, and that feeling was worth more than all the money in the world. 3 weeks had passed since the gala. 3 weeks of police interviews, FBI debriefings, and endless media requests. 3 weeks of watching Victoria and Brandon's faces plastered across every news channel in America. Daniel stood at the window of his temporary apartment in downtown Los Angeles. He had refused to return to the Bel Air mansion. That house was no longer his home. It was a crime scene, a monument to betrayal. His phone rang. It was his lawyer, Thomas Wright. "Daniel, we need to talk. The prosecution just sent over their final evidence list for the trial." "How bad is it?" "For them, devastating. Victoria's defense team is already trying to negotiate a plea deal. Brandon's lawyers filed 3 motions to dismiss this morning. All denied." Daniel felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief, just emptiness. "When does the trial start?" 6 weeks. But there's something else. Something you need to see in person. Daniel arrived at Wright's office an hour later. Maria was already there. Her ankle had healed, but she still walked with a slight limp. Rosa sat beside her, protective as always. Wright spread documents across his conference table. The FBI finished their investigation into the Henderson family. Maria's head snapped up. "Carlos's case. Your husband's death wasn't an accident, Mrs. Santos. It was negligence. Criminal negligence. The Hendersons knew about the safety violations. They chose to ignore them because repairs would have cost too much." Maria's hands began to tremble. "I knew it. I always knew it." There's more. We found evidence that the Hendersons paid off the original investigators, bribed witnesses, destroyed documentation. Wright paused. The statute of limitations for criminal charges has expired, but civil liability hasn't. Daniel leaned forward. What does that mean? It means Maria can sue, and given the evidence we have now, she'll win. Maria couldn't speak. 10 years of fighting. 10 years of being called a liar. 10 years of watching the people who killed her husband live in luxury while she scrubbed their friends' toilets. How much? Rosa asked quietly. Conservative estimate $15 to $20 million, possibly more if we can prove emotional distress and ongoing harm. Maria burst into tears. Rosa held her tight. Daniel watched them. This was why he was still fighting. This was why any of it mattered. Justice delayed was still justice. 2 days later, news broke that Victoria had attempted to take her own life in prison. She was found unconscious in her cell, rushed to the hospital, and placed on suicide watch. Daniel received the call at 6 a.m. Mr. Carter, this is Nurse Patterson from County Medical. Your wife is asking to see you. She's not my wife anymore. I understand, sir. But she's insisting. She says she needs to tell you something. Something important. Daniel almost said no. Almost hung up the phone, but something made him hesitate. Fine, I'll be there in an hour. He called Maria from the car. You shouldn't go, she said immediately. It's a trap. Maybe, but I need to know what she wants to say. Daniel, this woman tried to kill you. She doesn't deserve anything from you. I know, but I'll never have peace if I don't hear her out. I'll never be able to move on. Maria was silent for a long moment. Do you want me to come with you? No. This is something I need to do alone. Be careful, please. I will. Victoria looked small in the hospital bed. Her wrists were bandaged. Her face was pale and hollow. The confident, beautiful woman who had commanded rooms was gone. In her place was something broken. Daniel sat in the chair beside her bed. He didn't speak, just waited. Victoria opened her eyes. When she saw him, she started to cry. You came. You asked me to. I didn't think you would. Daniel's voice was cold. What do you want, Victoria? She turned her head away. I wanted to tell you I'm sorry. Sorry you got caught. Or sorry you tried to murder me. Both. Her voice cracked. I know you don't believe me. I know you hate me. But I need you to understand something. Understand what? That you've been sleeping with my brother since our honeymoon. That our entire marriage was a lie. That you spent 5 years planning my death. What could you possibly say that would make me understand any of that? Victoria's tears fell faster. I loved you. In the beginning. I really did. Daniel laughed bitterly. You have a strange way of showing love. I was young. I was scared. Brandon was there when you weren't. He made me feel wanted when you were building your empire and ignoring me. So this is my fault I worked too hard so you decided to poison me. No. No, that's not what I'm saying. Victoria struggled to sit up. I'm saying I made choices. Terrible choices. And somewhere along the way, I became someone I didn't recognize. She reached for his hand. Daniel pulled away. The first time Brandon suggested it, I was horrified. Victoria continued. I told him he was crazy. I told him I could never hurt you. But you did. He convinced me it was the only way, that you'd never give me a divorce, that you'd destroy me if I tried to leave. He made me believe that killing you was self-defense. Daniel stared at her. And you believed that? I wanted to believe it, because the alternative was admitting that I had become a monster. They sat in silence. The hospital machines beeped. Somewhere down the hall, someone coughed. Why did you really ask me here, Victoria? She looked at him with eyes that held nothing but defeat. Because I wanted you to know that I'm not going to fight anymore. I'm going to plead guilty. To everything. Murder conspiracy, fraud, all of it. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Why? Because I'm tired. Because I can't live with what I've done. Because the only thing left for me is to finally tell the truth. She reached under her pillow and pulled out a folded piece of paper. This is everything. Every detail. Every person Brandon and I bribed. Every payment we made. Every secret we buried. It's all there. Daniel took the paper but didn't open it. Why would you give me this? Because you deserve to know everything, and because maybe someday when you look back on our life together, you'll remember that at the very end, I tried to do one right thing. Daniel stood up. He looked down at his wife, the woman he had loved, the woman who had destroyed him. I'll give this to the FBI. I know. He walked to the door, stopped, turned back. Goodbye, Victoria. Goodbye, Daniel. I really am sorry. He left without another word. The information Victoria provided was explosive. It led to arrests of 3 more judges, 2 city councilmen, and the chief of police's deputy. The corruption network Brandon had built over the years came crashing down like dominoes. At 2 p.m. the following day, Daniel held a press conference. I'm here to announce that I'm stepping down as CEO of Carter Industries, effective immediately. Reporters erupted with questions. Daniel held up his hand for silence. I've spent 30 years building this company. It's been my life, my purpose. But recent events have shown me that there are more important things than profit and power. He paused, looked directly into the cameras. Starting today, I'm establishing the Santos Foundation, named after Maria Santos, the woman who saved my life. The foundation will provide legal aid, financial support, and resources to victims of corporate negligence and white-collar crime. People like Maria's husband, Carlos, who died because wealthy people thought their money made them immune to consequences. More questions shouted from the crowd. I'm also announcing that Maria Santos will serve as the foundation's executive director. Her experience, her courage, and her unwavering commitment to justice make her the perfect person to lead this fight. A reporter shouted, Mr. Carter, what qualifications does a former housekeeper have to run a multi-million-dollar foundation? Daniel's eyes went cold. Maria Santos infiltrated a heavily guarded mansion, gathered evidence that brought down one of the largest corruption networks in California history, and saved a man's life while risking her own. She has more qualifications than most Harvard graduates I've met. The room went silent. Any other questions about her credentials? There were none. Maria watched the press conference from Rosa's living room. Her hands covered her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. Mija, Rosa said softly. Did you know about this? Maria shook her head. He never said anything. He just asked me to watch the news today. Her phone rang. It was Daniel. Are you watching? I'm watching. Daniel, I don't know what to say. Say yes. Yes to what? To the job, to the foundation, to building something that matters. Maria looked at her mother, at the small house where she had grown up, at the life she had lived for 60 years. I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can. You've already done the impossible. This is just the next step. Maria closed her eyes. All her life she had been invisible, overlooked, dismissed. And now this man was offering her a chance to matter, a chance to fight for people like her, people like Carlos. Okay, she whispered. Yes. Good. I'll send a car in an hour. There's work to do. Maria hung up. She looked at Rosa. Mama, I think my life just changed. Rosa smiled. It changed the moment you pulled that man into the closet. Everything since then has just been catching up. The trial began 6 weeks later. Victoria pleaded guilty to all charges, just as she had promised. She was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison without the possibility of parole. Brandon fought to the end. He hired the best lawyers. He filed motion after motion. He claimed he was framed. He claimed Maria had manipulated the evidence. He claimed Daniel had orchestrated everything. None of it worked. The evidence was overwhelming. The video footage, the audio recordings, the documents Jennifer had provided, the confession Victoria had written. the testimony of Detective Morrison, who had agreed to cooperate in exchange for a reduced sentence. On the day of the verdict, Daniel and Maria sat in the courtroom. Rosa sat behind them, clutching her rosary. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" "We have, Your Honor." "On the count of conspiracy to commit murder, how do you find guilty? On the count of attempted murder, how do you find guilty? On the count of fraud, how do you find guilty? On the count of bribery of public officials, how do you find guilty?" Brandon's face went white. His lawyers slumped in their chairs. "Brandon Carter, you have been found guilty on all counts. This court sentences you to 60 years in federal prison. You will serve a minimum of 50 years before being eligible for parole." Brandon stood up, his eyes wild. "This is wrong. This is all wrong. Daniel, tell them this was all Victoria's idea. I never wanted to hurt you. You're my brother." Two marshals grabbed his arms. Daniel, please, you can't do this to me. We're family." Daniel stood. He walked to the barrier separating him from his brother. "We were family," he said quietly. "Then you tried to kill me." Brandon's screams echoed through the courthouse as they dragged him away. 6 months after the trial, the Santos Foundation opened its doors. Maria stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, still not quite believing this was her life. Hundreds of people had gathered. Reporters, politicians, advocates, people who had been hurt by corporate greed and were looking for help. Daniel handed her the ceremonial scissors. "This is your moment," he said. "You earned it." Maria looked out at the crowd. She saw faces like hers, working people, immigrants, survivors, people who had been told their whole lives that they didn't matter. She cut the ribbon. The crowd applauded. Maria stepped up to the microphone. "My name is Maria Santos. For 30 years I cleaned houses for wealthy people. I was invisible. I was ignored. I was told that people like me don't change anything." She paused, looked at Daniel, looked at her mother. "But I'm here to tell you that's a lie. Anyone can change the world. You don't need money. You don't need power. You don't need connections. You just need courage. You just need to decide that doing the right thing matters more than staying safe." Her voice grew stronger. "This foundation exists because a billionaire listened to his housekeeper, because he believed her when no one else would, because he understood that truth has no status, no class, no color." She turned to address the people gathered before her. "If you've been hurt by powerful people, come to us. If you've been silenced, come to us. If you've been told your story doesn't matter, come to us. Because we will fight for you. We will believe you. And we will never, ever stop." The crowd erupted in applause. 1 year later, Maria stood on a stage in Washington, D.C. A gold medal hung around her neck. The Presidential Medal of Freedom, awarded for extraordinary contributions to American society. The president shook her hand. "Ms. Santos, your courage has inspired millions. On behalf of the American people, thank you." Maria looked out at the audience. Daniel was there applauding. Rosa was there crying happy tears. Rebecca Chen was there still covering the story that had changed everyone's lives. "Mr. President," Maria said, "I was a housekeeper. I cleaned toilets for a living. And today, I'm standing in the White House receiving an award from the President of the United States." She smiled. "If that doesn't prove that anyone can make a difference, I don't know what does." After the ceremony, Daniel found Maria in the rose garden. She was holding her medal, staring at it like she still couldn't believe it was real. "How does it feel?" he asked. "Terrifying, wonderful, impossible." Daniel laughed. "Sounds about right." They stood in silence for a moment. Two people who had been through hell together. Two people who had come out the other side. "Daniel, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "That night when I pulled you into the closet, when I told you to shut up, did you ever think even for a second that I was crazy?" Daniel considered the question carefully. Yes, he admitted. For about 2 seconds. Then I saw the look in your eyes, and I knew you were the only person in that house telling me the truth. Maria nodded. I was terrified, you know, that you wouldn't believe me, that you'd fire me on the spot, that you'd think I was just some crazy maid making up stories. Why did you do it anyway? Maria was quiet for a long moment. Because my husband died, and no one believed me when I said it wasn't his fault. Because I spent 10 years watching guilty people live in luxury while I struggled to survive. Because I swore that if I ever had a chance to save someone from the same fate, I would take it. She looked at Daniel with tears in her eyes. I couldn't save Carlos, but I could save you. Daniel reached out and took her hand. You didn't just save me, Maria. You saved everything. My company, my name, my future. Everything I have now is because of you. We saved each other. Daniel nodded. Yeah, I suppose we did. 2 years after that night at the gala, Daniel and Maria stood together at a groundbreaking ceremony. The Carlos Santos Justice Center was being built in East Los Angeles. It would provide free legal services to thousands of low-income families every year. Rosa cut the ribbon this time. At 83 years old, she was finally seeing her husband's name honored. Carlos would be proud, she whispered to Maria. So proud. I know, Mama, I know. That evening they all gathered at Rosa's house for dinner. The same small kitchen where Daniel had once hidden from death. The same table where they had planned the impossible. Rosa served her famous tamales. Daniel ate 3 helpings. I still can't cook like this, he said. I've tried. It's impossible. Rosa patted his cheek. Some things can't be learned. They have to be inherited. Maria laughed. She's been saying that my whole life. Because it's true. Daniel looked around the table. At Rosa still fierce and protective. At Maria transformed from servant to leader. At the life they had built from the ashes of betrayal. I want to say something, he announced. Everyone fell silent. 2 years ago, I walked into my house planning to surprise my wife with roses. Instead, I discovered that my entire life was a lie. I found out that the people I trusted most wanted me dead. I lost everything I thought I knew. He paused, looked at Maria. But I gained something more valuable. I gained truth. I gained purpose. I gained a family I never knew I had. He raised his glass. To Maria, who taught me that courage has nothing to do with money or power. To Rosa, who reminded me that love is measured in tamales and prayers. And to Carlos, whose memory drives everything we do. They all raised their glasses. To justice, Maria said. To justice, they echoed. Outside, the sun set over Los Angeles. The city that had tried to destroy them. The city where they had fought back and won. Maria walked Daniel to his car after dinner. The night air was warm. Stars were beginning to appear. Thank you, she said. For everything. Don't thank me. This was all you. It was both of us. Neither of us could have done this alone. Daniel nodded. That's the thing about justice, isn't it? It's never a solo act. It takes people willing to stand together, willing to fight together, willing to believe each other when the rest of the world won't. Maria smiled. You should put that in a speech. Maybe I will. He opened his car door, then turned back. Maria, I need you to know something. That night when you grabbed me and told me to shut up, that was the most important moment of my life. Not because you saved me from poison, but because you showed me what real courage looks like. Maria's eyes glistened. I spent my whole life chasing success. Daniel continued, building empires, making money, impressing people who didn't matter. But you, in that one moment, showed me what actually matters. Truth, justice, standing up for what's right, even when it costs you everything. He reached out and took her hand. You changed my life, Maria Santos. And I will spend the rest of it trying to be worthy of what you did for me." Maria squeezed his hand. "You already are." Daniel drove away into the night. Maria watched his taillights disappear, then walked back inside to help her mother with the dishes. Rosa looked at her daughter's face and smiled. "He's a good man." "Yes, Mama, he is." "And you're a good woman. Better than good. You're extraordinary." Maria dried a plate and set it carefully in the cabinet. "I'm just someone who decided not to look away." Rosa shook her head. "No, mija. You're someone who decided to look directly at evil and say no. That's not just courage. That's power. Real power. The kind that changes the world." Maria hugged her mother tight. "I learned it from you." Rosa laughed. "You learned it from yourself. I just gave you the kitchen to practice in." That night, Maria lay in her childhood bed and stared at the ceiling. The same ceiling she had stared at as a girl dreaming of a better life. The same ceiling she had stared at after Carlos died, wondering if anything would ever be right again. Now, everything was different. She was different. She closed her eyes and remembered Daniel's words. Real courage. Standing up for what's right, even when it costs you everything. She had done that. She had stood up. She had spoken out. She had refused to be invisible. And the world had finally seen her. Maria Santos fell asleep smiling. Because she knew with absolute certainty that this was just the beginning. The woman they had ignored for 60 years was never going to be invisible again. And that truth, that simple, powerful truth, was worth more than all the money in the world.